The VSonic VST3Ss are a pair of earphones with detachable cables, blocks out a ton of noise, and has a very enjoyable, very rich, very bassy, and very crisp sound to it. And it does all of this at a relatively affordable price. My name is Tom, and welcome to On a Student Budget. And in this full review of these VSonic VST3Ss, we're going to be talking about the accessories, the build quality and design, the comfort, the isolation, and of course the sound quality. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you my verdict on whether or not I think these VST3Ss are worth your money, especially if you're on a budget. I had purchased my pair of the VSonic VST3Ss off of lendmeyourears.com for about $56, and I was actually one of the first people to buy the red and blue pair, which is actually currently sold out right now, and VSonic is going to be restocking in the near future. However, you can also find these earphones on penandaudio.com as well, and they have it in the traditional black, and the red and the purple as well, and they'll be stocking the light blue in the future, and I'll put the link in the description below on where you can get these earphones. In terms of accessories, the VST3S comes with one soft carrying pouch, 3 pairs of single flange ear tips in the small, medium, and large, 1 pair of double flange, and 1 pair of foam ear tips in the event that all the other ear tips don't fit you, and a pair of ear guides to help stabilize your cable when you're moving out and about. In terms of design, the VST3S is very unique, and it's like a gem, honestly speaking. It looks like a diamond cut all over on the housing. My pair of the VST3S in particular is very unique in the sense that the left earpiece is blue and the right earpiece is red. And this is something I've never seen before in any other earphones out there. In terms of build quality, each of the earpieces of the VST3Ss are made out of entirely plastic. That said, the plastic used is of very high quality. But the biggest selling point for this earphone is the fact that it has detachable cables. Well, first of all, why do we care whether or not our earphones have detachable cables? Well, cables are usually the first things to go when using a pair of earphones, whether it's through daily wear and tear, or you get the cables snagged on a doorknob and it gets pulled, and you don't get any music coming through. So what happens traditionally is you would have to throw away that pair of earphones and get a new pair. However, with the VST3S, because it has detachable cables, all you need to do is just get a replaceable cable, snap off these ones and replace it, and you're good to go again. So you don't have to buy another pair of earphones, and it definitely saves you money in the long run. So the detachable cable feature alone should be a prime reason why you should get these earphones, because at $45 to $60, this is a feature that is absolutely unheard of. And the closest alternative to an earphone with detachable cables is the Shure SE215s, which is about priced about $99, which is quite a bit more expensive than the VST3Ss here. There are 2 things you need to know about these detachable cables, however. The first is the fact that you should not detach these cables unless absolutely necessary, because the connection does get loose over time. And the second thing is the fact that the VST3Ss uses a special proprietary MMCX cable, which means that you can't just get any old aftermarket cable to work on the VST3Ss. So you have to wait until VSonic releases the detachable cable separately, and I'll put the link in the description below on when that happens and where you can get it. So let's continue with the cable. The cable itself is of a medium thickness, and it actually feels very reassuring and very supple in the hand, and it doesn't tangle well. However, this gets to my biggest gripe with the VSonic VST3Ss, which is the lack of strain relief on the Y-shaped connector, which is a bit concerning for its long-term durability. And the same can be said about the headphone jack, which is a straight angle jack. I'm usually a fan of the L-shaped jack, because the straight jack just stick out of your pocket a little more. But again, there is not much strain relief here. That said, these earphones are $45 to $60, so you gotta keep your expectations in check, and the fact that it already has a detachable cable feature is already an added plus. And so if anything does happen over time, you can definitely swap out the cables. In terms of fit, the VST3Ss are an around the ear design, which means that the cable runs over and around your ear, which means that cable noise is almost non-existent. And this black part, rubber part here you see, is actually the ear guide, and it's actually used to keep the cable stable and to prevent it from flopping around when out and about. In terms of comfort, I thought the VST3S is very good in this regard. The housing is on the bigger end, so those with small outer ears may not find the VST3S to be the most comfortable. However, I was able to wear these for over 2 hours at a time with little to no irritation whatsoever. In terms of isolation, the VST3S was just absolutely superb. The housing is fully sealed, which means that I did not have to raise the volume just to block out the subway chatter or the screeching wheels or the air conditioning going on. And these are actually my daily drivers on my bus and my subway commute to and from school. So that just gives you an idea of how much I love the isolation on these earphones. And that's the fact that you don't have to touch the volume means that it prevents hearing loss. So high marks for me. The sound quality on the VST3S is just absolutely fantastic. It has a very warm, very bassy, very smooth response with a crisp treble to keep everything interesting. The bass is emphasized, it's warm, it's full-bodied, it's very well textured. It's not the tightest bass response, but it's very smooth and relaxing, and it's just the kind of bass response you want to just, after a long day of work, you just want to melt away in your music. And I think it's actually fantastic for most genres, except for the more faster tracks. The bass sometimes gets a little uncontrolled and a little bit loose. That said, as a whole, the bass is very high quality and I very much enjoy it. Going into the mid-range here is very natural, so vocals have retained their characteristic and their tonality to it, and it's very rich. In terms of the treble, the VST3S has an emphasized lower treble, which lends well for female vocals, and rock music, which gives it more grit and spice and excitement. And I also really like the texture on the VST3S, which is very snappy and quick, and it's also very well extended. However, I would say that the VST3S has a little bit of sibilance, and what I mean by sibilance is certain words like shouty, small, and sassy. If you're really sensitive to those S sounds, it is a little bit apparent on the VST3S. However, this is very mild, and I didn't think that this detracted from the overall listening experience. In terms of soundstage, the VST3S performed very admirably. It's wider than average. Separation and placement of instruments is just okay. Similar with what I said with the bass, where for some faster music like EDM and dubstep with really fast bass lines on some tracks, it gets a little uncontrolled. And the soundstage similarly can get a little more congested, a little more in your head experience. But for what you're getting and what you're paying for, the VST3S is just absolutely fantastic and for most genres of music. So in the end, what's my verdict on the VST3S? Well, you're getting superb isolation, no cable noise whatsoever, and a beautiful housing, and of course a fantastic sound, especially for most genres of music. And I think between this and the HAVI B3 Pro 1, spoiler alert, I think this is more easily recommendable over the HAVIs, and I absolutely love those HAVI B3 earphones. So if this video helps you out, definitely hit the like and subscribe button. Definitely tell your friends. If you have any questions on the VST3S, hit me up in the comments below. And I'm going to be doing future comparisons with the HAVI B3 Pro 1 and amongst other earphones that I own with the VST3S. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week.